What up, though, One Pride? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, the podcast where One Pride goes worldwide. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening by Ashley Soden, and we are here for the Pittsburgh Steelers at Detroit Lions review. And Ash, I don't know about you, I feel this was a very poetic day for us to get our first look at the trailer for the Odyssey, which is
hmm
upcoming, because I'm feeling a little like Odysseus did today. Not necessarily what he did there, but I'm noticing a trend. A few years ago, the Lions stormed the beaches of Troy when they first made it to relevance and nearly made their way all the way to the city and sacked it. But then in the previous years since that, we've suffered a heavy defeat. We've suffered a lot of casualties. We've suffered a lot of injured players in our case. And now we're back on our boats wondering, are we going to turn around and go home? Or are we going to find our magic Trojan horse that might just return us to the Super Bowl?
That is a very apt analogy, definitely. Yeah, it seems like to build on that, we are stuck in the Iliad, the poem before that in the Trojan cycle. Just that little stretch where nothing's seemingly going right. It's an absolute slog, and yeah, it seems like yesterday's game was book one with the Iliad, the falling out between Agamemnon and Achilles, and everything's falling apart for the Trojan army, and Apollo's hitting the army with his plague arrows. That's where we are right now. And yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but at least at least Odysseus had a goddess by his side. I don't know what the Detroit Lions have got by their side because their football gods definitely abandoned them yesterday with the way we played. We were joking beforehand that we're ab libbing this with no prep doc, and it seems like that was what the play calling was like yesterday. Absolutely no plan behind it, just throwing shit at a wall and seeing what stuck. And for the most part, it didn't. It just didn't at all.
And there sure as hell is a divine word entity working against the Detroit Lions, because no sooner were Tony Nance and Jim Romo talking about the miracle in Motown from 10 years ago, which had absolutely no relevance to this
Mm-hmm.
game whatsoever, then Aaron Rodgers launches some 60-yard, absolute hopeless attempt, a deep throw downfield, and it bounces off a receiver's arm as he falls to the ground, pops up in the air, and allows him to just walk into the end zone. That sort of stuff screams that a
Mm-hmm.
god thought, you know what? It'd be funny to do that again, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, God. I mean, it's so many laughable moments. That's one. The play where we near the goal, their end zone, and think it was on our first drive, and we just don't decide to block Jack Sawyer. Just all sorts, and some of it was of our own creation for sure. So that one where Anzo didn't just seemingly forgot to touch him down by contact, just thought the play was over. The OPIs towards the end, just everything. We did not deserve to win that game, but at the same time, did the Steelers? It just seems we deserve to lose the game more than they deserve to win it. But it, it it is what it is. At least we can finally get that monkey off our back. I know we've people have repeated it time and time again. We finally got that monkey off our back that we have this reputation of we never lost to get back to back games. Now we have. We've done it for the first time in a while. We've got that off our back. Now hopefully lift that burden of the pressure. We can just go out and win the next two games, even if we don't make the fucking playoffs. Go out on a high because some of these players they need it.
You know what? My one takeaway from this game is I just never want to see us play the Pittsburgh Steelers again. It feels like I'm having the soul sucked out of me. Every time we play them, it's an atrocious game. And for three quarters, this was an absolutely atrocious game. Especially that third quarter. But anywho, we are here, as I said, to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers 29-24 victory in Detroit, which has all but extinguished any hope for the Lions when it comes to the playoffs. Although it's not physically over just yet, but I think we all know we've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
It is over. And then obviously we're going to talk about the fallout which is happening from this game as well. All the housekeeping stuff in the building. Don't forget to like and subscribe to all the Roller Alliance UK stuff. We appreciate having you all in there and all the support we get from you. College Pod will be later in the week with me and Ryan. Probably be after Christmas now before it. We've got to condense a lot of shows into a short amount of time. Matt is still unwell at this moment in time, so we've got a lot of stuff to try and condense in. So it's going to be iggledy-piggledy when we're here and when we're not, but we will try and get all the shows out to you as we can, but I'll probably leave the College Pod till later in the week. And yeah, part of Lions Nation Unite as well, so don't forget to support Herm and all those guys over there. But yeah, that's really it for that. Not really much news come out today that I've seen so far that's relevant, more just takes down here. So we're going to get straight down into the game, really. I'll shout out everyone who's in the building first. So Mile Marcus here, he goes 8-7. Still proud. Brent is in the building. He goes, Blue Monday song playing today. Chin up, folks. Could be worse. Chris Brown goes 18 yards rushing is a joke. Get Metcalf lined up to face Jake Paul next. That was funny. We'll talk about that one later. But yeah, appreciate you all being in the building. You got any questions or anything, or put your comments in. I ran a little stream afterwards yesterday to get all your immediate reactions, and there were a lot of thoughts and feelings in there. And Ash is with us today, so I want to discuss as much as we can with him as well. But in terms of before the game. Inactives for the day for the Lions. Obviously, the big talk was of the interior line. So Dominic Lovett, wide receiver, Glasgow at centre, Colon at left guard, Awashika left guard. All of those three were out with various injuries they've had, and then healthy scratches to Mekhi Wingo, Tyler Lacey, and Jalen Mills as well. On Pittsburgh's side, they were just as banged up as we were in some areas. Left guard Isaac Semuolo, TJ Watt, star edge, Nick Herbig, the second edge, James Pierre, the corner, got ruled out on Friday. Will Howard, the backup QB, Caleb Johnson, the running back, and Roman Wilson, former Michigan receiver there, which left the Lions sporting an offensive line, which started Taylor Decker at left tackle, Christian Mahogany at left guard, Kingsley Aguakan making his debut for the Lions as starter. At centre, Tate Ratledge at right guard, and Penei Sewell at right tackle. I mean, not ideal in the run up to this. There's so many injuries on that interior offensive line, having to bring in a new centre, obviously bedding in Mahogany. It's his first game back from injury. Just it didn't bode well going into this with just having the slew and having most of the depth guys out as well.
Yeah, definitely, especially since, I know, as you say, the Steelers were banked up, especially on defense, missing both their starting edge rushers. But that interior is fearsome and no some more than, obviously, two of your favourite draft prospects since we've started doing this in Derek Carman this year and in Keanu Benton a couple of years ago. It did not bode well, especially since Mahogany is an upgrade for sure over what we've had the past couple of weeks, but he's just coming. It's his first game properly back from the broken leg. Aguakan's taken snaps before, but that's in the preseason, and him suddenly having to come in, not exactly great. And then Ratledge is still a rookie, and I think he was mostly lined up against Cam Hayward in this game, and he's obviously a wily vet. It wasn't a great matchup for us, even without taking out the fact that Penei and Taylor Decker are not 100%. They're carrying injuries. So it definitely hurt. And we saw that. We saw that in this game. But there's a certain moments that we'll come on to in a bit where the interior offensive line definitely hurt us. But that didn't help. As for their side, as you say, missing their both their edge rushers is not good. Missing Roman Wilson as well, though that's because Aaron Rodgers is slowly but surely getting his grubby hands all over their roster like he did for the Jets. He doesn't like young receivers. He likes his slow veteran receivers who seemingly know his archaic signals. He's talking to them in semaphore while all us youngsters use like Snapchat and that to get all our signals. So he's doing that. But both teams banged up and that, but still, you would have thought going into this game, as I did, because people in our Discord know I put a £2 bet on and I had a score and go over 30 points winning the game, all these things happening. That seemed good. That seemed like oh yeah, we're going to get all this. Gibbs is going to get his touchdown. Jeremy's going to get this and this. And most play people have predicted it. I could probably look at pick watch and I'd say probably 70% of people picked us to win it, and then the other 30% are probably either hate watchers or actual Steelers fans. most places probably would have had us winning this game and winning it comfortably, and yet it didn't for a variety of reasons as we get on to. But we can't have an excuse. They were banged up, we were banged up, but we're supposed to be the more talented team. We've got the better QB, the better run game, better receivers. Defense is probably on par, and then for special teams, they've probably got the better kicker in terms of reputation. But everything else, we're supposed to be better, and yet we made them look like the LA Rams last week. Somehow we made them look like Super Bowl favorites.
You're right. I've just, mentioned our line and how it started. Their offensive line, starting Dylan Cook at left tackle, he was an undrafted free agent in 2022. He only started his first game and took his first snaps in the NFL 3 weeks ago. This was
Yep.
only his second ever start. At left guard, you have Spencer Anderson, who was a seventh round pick, and he got replaced by Andrus Peat, who's barely played in 2 years. They bought a new left guard in. And then your other three, Frazier, McCormick, and Fautanu, all drafted last year. They're all
Yeah.
second year rookies. So you have three youngsters and you've got two late day three undrafted free agency guys on there. This was not a case of our injuries debilitating us to the fact that theirs were not. So they were in the boat we were. But however, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through just the overall stats now, and then we'll do quarters because these quarters were very telling in these games. So just in terms of the overall stats, for the Lions, Jared Goff on the day, 34 of 54. 364 yards and three touchdowns. He took three sacks on the day. The run game, I've had to look through our book of myths to read up what a run game is because I didn't know what it was. David Montgomery, 4 carries for 14 yards, and he had a longest run of 17 yards. Go figure. Jahmyr Gibbs, 7 carries for 2 yards, averaging zero point 0.3 yards per carry, and he had a longest run of 6 yards as well. So both guys had a longest run that was longer than their total of yards on the day. In terms of the receiver room, I mean, people ate. Jameson Williams, 5 receptions for 70 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, 10 for 66 and a touchdown. Khalif Raymond, nice to see him back in form, 4 for 62 and a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4 for 54. Isaac Tesla, 4 for 52 and another touchdown for Teslatron. Anthony Ferkser at tight end, 4 for 40. And Shane Zylstra, 3 for 20. So a lot of guys filled their boots on this one. Defensively, sacks were in very short supply. Aiden Hutch, the man, 2 on the day for him, but that was it in terms of actual sacks on Aaron Rodgers, our hated foe. We had a forced fumble from Thomas Harper, which was recovered by Jack Campbell as well. Other than that, a ton of tackles on the day for various guys. On the Steelers side, offensively, Aaron Rodgers, 27 of 41 for 266 yards and a touchdown, taking just the 2 sacks on the day. Noticeably, the running game, which I believe was the 28th best rushing game in the NFL coming into this one. Jalen Warren, 14 carries for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns, going at a mere 10.2 yards per carry. Kenneth Gainwell, 9 for 50, going at 5.6 yards per carry. Jonnu Smith, the tight end, 2 for 28, going at 14 yards per carry. Yes, a 250-pound tight end ran 14 yards per carry on us. And Aaron Rodgers even had 2 scrambles for 9 yards. Their receivers, Kenneth Gainwell, top 5 for 78 and a touchdown. Adam Thielen had 4 for 49. DK Metcalf had 4 for 42. Darnell Washington, 3 for 36. Pat Freiermuth, 4 for 20. Scotty Miller, 3 for 19. And then a few other guys had various bits around. On their defense, Kyle Duggar, sack on the day for him. Keanu Benton, big sack for him and a forced fumble on the day. Great work by the former Wisconsin man. Cameron Hayward had a half sack in there as well. I believe he got the one with Duggar there. Um, eh, Excuse me. Those are the high level stuff there. I mean, we'll get down into the actual game, but immediately what sticks out for the Lions, Ash. Jared Goff had to throw the ball 54 times, and we didn't even go above 20 yards rushing. Imbalance at its worst.
Yeah. The writing was on the wall with that early, as I said earlier, where the Steelers just found something on tape that we do with these outside zones that we'd be doing a lot more with Gibbs coming to the fore. we seemingly leave the backside edge rusher unblocked, or we pull the guard along over to get to them. And it just didn't work in this game. They read it perfectly. So there was Jack Sawyer incident mentioned on, I think it was our first drive, but there was times just throughout the game where we'd leave that edge rusher completely unblocked and then make a TFL. There was a stat, I think it was going into us scoring our first touchdown. We had more negative plays than we had runs of more than 3 yards. And that was David Montgomery's 17-yarder. Just, it's inexcusable when that's supposed to be our identity. We saw last week that this Rams pulled down on it and sort of flipped the script on us in terms of identity. You'd think they go into it with what is not the same caliber of defense as it used to be with the Steelers, and it's not the same caliber what the Rams are this season. It's not a good defense, and yet somehow we looked even worse running the ball. Like, just nothing was there for us, and yeah, we had to pivot away from it in the second half and we only ran the ball one time in the second half. But that's a problem of your own creation when you're just making it so easy for them to get TFLs, and you're just doing the same concepts. It was outside zone, outside zone. There was no sort of like traps or anything. You could see they were doing it. Call a trap or something that just gets them to draw it in, and suddenly you go past them, draws, that kind of stuff. There was none of that creativity, and I honestly don't know who it falls on. Is it Dan for not calling the right plays? Is it Morton for not drawing up the right plays? Is it, and I hate to put slander on this guy's name and start digging him out because he's been one of our best coaches since he's been here. Is it Hank's fault for not drawing up a good run game with him having the run game coordinator title? Is it Tashard Choice for not getting the running backs coached up well? There's so many different factors that can go into it, and it's just hard to see what's causing the issue because we've seen it for a good while now. It's been happening slowly but surely. The offense, Goff can only carry it so much. He's been doing amazing. Like, I don't know, I don't get why people are saying he's playing shit recently, but there's just not been a run game there. And when that's supposed to be our identity, we win up front in the trenches. We run the ball down people's throats. We win time of possession in that. And yet, as we'll get into in a bit, I know we can say we're going by quarter. We only had the ball for like a minute in the third quarter.
50
against
seconds.
a team. 50 seconds, less than a minute against a team that's one of the worst in the league in time of possession going into this game. Just, it's horrific. And I'm not just saying that as someone that bet all I bet on Montgomery was 30 rushing yards, and he didn't even get half of that. Says a lot.
No, you're right. Steelers one time of possession 34 to 26, 8 minutes extra on the field, which, as you say, for a team that just does not do this, is credible. Pittsburgh broke a lot of their stereotypes against us this week. So, like I say, this is why I want to do it quarter by quarter, because each quarter in this game actually tells its own significant story of where everything went wrong. So, obviously, we're going to start in the first quarter. Lions had the ball first on offense in this game, and has been so want their ways in previous games. They went 3 and out. First was a screen out to Amon-Ra St. Brown. It went for 7 yards. Good first pass to start the game, but then immediately the first sack of the day. Keanu Benton, the nose, who had a great day for the Pittsburgh Steelers, completely murked Christian Mahogany, who returning from injury, as we've mentioned. It was a huge sack for -8 yards. Basically put Detroit back to 3rd and 11. They tried to counter with a screen pass to Gibbs. He gets no gain, and the team go 3 and out for no overall yardage. Fox punts it all the way to the Pittsburgh 20. We know he's good. They return it to the 29. Their first drive of the game, they go 9 plays and 30 yards, take about 350 off the clock. Jalen Warren had a first down run for 11 yards and a sign of things to come. Few incomplete passes to Darnell Washington. DJ Metcalf had a reception for 5 yards. They eventually managed to get down to the Detroit 41, but then Detroit hit back with a sack of their own. Aiden Hutchinson with a huge 9 yard sack when Pittsburgh were on a 2nd and 5 to put them all the way to 3rd and 14. Pittsburgh could not convert on the 3rd down. Felt like one of the only times they couldn't on 3rd down on the day. And that brought Boswell onto the field. As Ash mentioned, one of the best kickers in the league, 59 yards out, and he drilled this thing right down Broadway to put the Steelers 3-0 up. Lions then respond with a big 13-play drive, goes 63 yards, and they were looking pretty good. I mean, literally the first play of the drive, Jahmyr Gibbs fumbles. He recovered his own fumble. It was a loss of 4 yards, and for the second drive in a row, as Ash mentioned, with negative plays, we started with a negative play, which puts us behind the sticks where we don't want to be. Ferkser had his first catch for 2 yards. That put us into a 3rd and 12 situation, but Khalif Raymond, one of the stars of the day, was able to get us out of it. Just a short pass from Jared Goff. He was able to find a hole between two Pittsburgh Steelers defenders to be able to just get the conversion there. There was a big pass to Ferkser, 18 yards down the middle again from Jared Goff. Ferkser just seemed to get to where he needed to. David Montgomery then did a good 17-yard run, opened up for him by center Kingsley Aguakan and left guard Christian Mahogany. They left a hell of a gap for him to run through to be able to get us all the way down to the pit 35. Another 14-yard pass to Ferkser, who again was just absolutely amazing. And we made it into the red zone, but as has been our way in recent years, we get to 1st and goal at the pit 4 of a 1 yard run for Jahmyr Gibbs. We have a 3 yard loss from Jahmyr Gibbs, then to put us back to the 6. We have a 3 yard pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown, which gets us back to the 3. We go for it from the 3. It goes for Amon-Ra St. Brown, and it is a good pass breakup, I believe, from Joey Porter Jr., if I remember rightly. And that kind of turnover on downs sums up the first half of the first quarter for most of it. But as you mentioned, some good plays. Ferkser comes out of nowhere. We get the sack on defense. We hold them to a field goal, but it always felt a little bit disjointed. Every time we seemed to take a step forward, we took a step back. And again, we get into the end zone and people are on about, should we take 3? Those questions come up again. It's just the offense starting slow again. No points in the first quarter. 4th time in 5 games now, I believe. You're on mute.
God's sake. God, I always do this to myself.
Not me, not guilty. I don't have that power.
I know you don't. Not yet. Not yet. Just as you said, we started so well, and then it falls apart. It's for what it's supposed to be. It is. I can't remember. I don't know if it's changed since I haven't looked it up. But going into this game, the #1 scoring offense in the league for a team that has that reputation, has always been a good offense. This season, it's been one negative play in a series, and suddenly that's it. You're over. We're probably Jack Fox is coming out to punt. We have just lost the ability to have that resilience and bounce back from some adversity on drives. So yeah, great pass to Amon-Ra, open up the game. One day teams will clue in the fact that the first play of the game is usually some form of pass to Amon-Ra. Hopefully they'll do that. But then sack, as you say, and then it's just conservative play calling. Short pass to Gibbs. Oh, let's see if we can get the yardage back. He doesn't, and suddenly it's a punt. Just we go into our shell so much, and then they come out and you're like, oh, come on, it's Aaron Rodgers. We're not going to give him an easy time. He'll have to work for it. First play to get first pass for them. Great pass break up by Rocky Sid. I'm so glad that he's really looking good. But then suddenly, Jaren Warren runs the ball and suddenly they get a 1st down, and then it's just repeat where every single time they needed some form of conversion, they got it. Because I know it's sort of sparing the lead for later, but we played. I think sort of 83% zone plays on defense yesterday, and it just got tore apart. And I know there's no perfect way to play Aaron. Like a couple of weeks ago, he played a zone heavy, 2 high system, and he tore them apart. And then he plays a single high man heavy system, and he tears them apart. the way to beat him is to mix things up, and we just didn't. We just dropped back in zones. The zone drops were just too far back for what they were supposed to be. So there was the I think it was one of the later ones in this drive where actually was a different one, but Reed was just too far back. He was turned around, and it's an easy conversion on a third and long. Just too many of them, and luckily we get a lucky break in terms of that play where we get a sack on. Hutch gets his first sack. Yeah, Anzali has a good pass breakup, and we force him to kick a field goal. That was a lucky break because the way they were going, they could have easily scored on that drive, and it would have been 7-0, and we'd be down in a hole in our home finale. And it nearly happened. As you say, second drive, Gibbs nearly fumbles the ball and just about recovers it for a loss. And then it took some great plays by some underrated players. Like Khalif had a game and a half, especially early in this game. As you say, the 13-yard pass he got, and then later what happened near the end of the game. Ferks had turned up for one drive at least. That's better than we've seen from most of the tight ends since Brock and Sam Laporta went down. Like, people know after what I said when we accepted the tender on him after the 49ers offered him a couple of years ago, that I'm not the biggest Brock Wright fan, not compared to Matt, for instance, but please hurry back, Brock. I know you're not eligible for week 18. It's probably not going to be worth anything, but damn, has the injury to Laporta and Brock shown that this offense needs a good tight end who can move the chains, because otherwise nothing happens. It was just a comedy of errors in some ways, as I say. So that for the second and goal, where 3-yard loss for Jack Sawyer, we just left him unblocked. And I know that's part of the run scheme. What we've seen, we're doing it outside zone, but it wasn't the first time, and it wasn't the last time it happened. Surely you'd work that out. And then I'm not too against going for it in the fourth and goal from the 3, because you usually it's either you get it or you get the touchdown, or they start on basically the shadow of their own end zone. You can force a safety. Remember that for later. I'm not too mad at it. Mad at the play call though. Like, don't like the play call we had in that situation. Getting Goff on the move where it's not his game, and Amaron nearly gets it, but it's a good play by Porter. It was just not how we should open up the game at all. And but at the same time, I don't know what else we could have done. Like, there were some plays to be had there, but we just didn't execute them right. And it's how much is on the players for not executing the blocks right. So are they supposed to leave Jack Sawyer unblocked? I don't think that one Mahogany's supposed to pull over and get to him, but at the same time, asking a player just coming off a broken leg to run across and block a young buck who's trying to make his name on it on an outside zone run, not the best thing to be doing to you. Still missing raw left guard. Like, you've got to remember, he only played 3 games last season. He looks good, much like Frazier has, but he still hasn't completed a full season of football, really, if you count him out games he's had. Asking him to do that, not the right thing to do.
No, fully agree with you there. I'm reading y'all's comments. We will get to them when we've done the game breakdown, because there's some issues there that require wider perspective. But yeah, 3-0 after the first quarter. Again, not scoring in the first quarter. But I'm not too fussed about the attempt to go for it. I think, you want to put the Steelers away. You want to put 7 on the board. You want to go for it. I don't have any issues with that. The run blocking stuff, I don't know. The thing that you watch them all, it felt like, and they're showing, our guys were just late. Like, they were pulling the guards a lot and stuff like, and it just felt they were always late to the mark. And I don't, whose fault is that? Just Pittsburgh reading the snaps really well and getting a yard, or is it the offensive lineman's fault? I just don't know with that, but it always felt like we were second best. I'm pretty sure the Sawyer one that you mentioned down the end zone, that was meant to be Mahogany coming for him, but he was like a full yard behind, but it didn't feel like Mahogany had had a slow get off. I don't know. Anywho, it was tough attritional stuff moving into the second quarter now, and we had 3 drives in the first quarter. We got about 8 in the second. Pittsburgh get the ball back. They go on a 7-play, 31-yard drive. Now, some of the annoying plays in here, as we've mentioned, Ash alluded to this already. We had Pittsburgh at 3rd and 5 on their own 8, and this became a common theme of the game, giving up third downs. Aaron Rodgers to Calvin Austin. It's just a simple little out route from Calvin Austin against DJ Reed. DJ Reed gets turned inside out. And Austin just runs a little out, gets a nice little recovery. It's 8 yards, gets Pittsburgh a first down out of situations. That ability trying to get them off the field. He's not even marking the top receiver on their team, and he gets turned inside out this little guy. I don't know why you're not up in press, just dominating him with your better strength that you have. But anywho, we gave that up, and on the back of that, Kenneth Gainwell had a 20-yard run. He just ran straight through the middle of our line as well, and you're kind of worried about it. Their drive, thankfully, did stall out. It was a good pass breakup from Rock Sin on DK Metcalf. Rock Sin did such a great job on DK Metcalf early in this game, but we were able to pump. But then offense just kind of, well, it went to sleep. Sorry, the Lions then come up with an 8-play, 44-yard drive. We finally got a mojo going. Passed to Jameson Williams to start the drive. Went for 21 yards, which was able to give us some momentum. But then again, Monty, 2-yard tackle for loss on a new set of downs, puts us in 2nd and 12 again. We're able to get out of it. Amon-Ra St. Brown has a 20-yard catch and run, which takes us down to the pit 17. But then again, first down, -1 yard run for David Montgomery puts us behind the sticks. 2 incomplete passes from Goff, one to Gibbs, one to Williams, means we have to settle for the field goal. It went 8 plays, 44 yards, 3 minutes, 20 seconds. And then the punting game begins. Pittsburgh offense goes to sleep. They go 3 and out for just 7 yards. The Lions come back out. Immediately, Jared Goff takes a sack 5 yards down the Swanee. I believe it went through the left guard again. I think it was Mahogany who was in there. They were rotating Frazier in for a bit. But anywho, the first play of the drive, Goff gets sacked for 5, puts Detroit in 2nd and 15. We've got a 5-yard gain to Shane Zylstra, but then a penalty. Killed the drive dead. We had to punt it away. Pittsburgh come back out 3 and out again. They get no yards whatsoever. There's another sack on the drive. It's Hutchinson's second sack. They did have a 6-yard pass to start it off. Hutch gets all that yardage back, forces them to punt. And just when this attrition is going on, the game all of a sudden breaks open for both teams. The Lions go 5 plays, 62 yards in just 2 minutes. You had a 14-yard pass to Isaac Teslar. Then you had a 13-yard one to Gibbs. Then Jameson gets another one. Couple of runs, put us in 1st and 10 at the Pittsburgh 20. And then a lovely pass from Jared Goff to Isaac Teslar in the end zone. And I documented this earlier. It was again Kingsley Aguakan, a wonderful piece of play for him. You see him in his center position. He points out Peyton Wilson, the linebacker, who's coming on the blitz for them. He does a double teams tackle with tape Ratledge on Keanu Benton, immediately shifts back onto the left and double teams with Mahogany to pick up the blitz from Wilson, gives Goff a clean pocket to work with, and Goff launches a dart into the end zone. Isaac Teslar with the catch in the air, completely unprotected, takes a huge hit from 2 Steelers players, somehow manages to come down with the ball in his hands. It is a wonderful throw, but it is an even better catch. And the Lions go 10-3 up, and you think at this point, maybe we've got them here and we can get away from it. But then the play that everybody remembers. Pittsburgh go 11 plays, 80 yards in just under 2 minutes, just before the half ends. And again, we put them in some bad situations. We get them into 3rd and 10, and they're able to convert. I think we get them into a 2nd and 14. They're able to convert. And then you get the big 45-yard touchdown pass where Aaron Rodgers just launches an absolute Hail Mary down the line to Kenneth Gainwell. Gainwell falls as the ball is coming down. The ball bounces off Kenneth Gainwell's arms as he comes down with Alex Anzalone, bounces up into the air. Gainwell catches it and runs into the end zone, and it looks like one of those where there's 1,000% it's not going to be a touchdown. There is no way that the gods have allowed that to happen, but the ball did not touch the floor. It bounced up off the arm. It went in. Anzalone had no idea, and just like that, the Steelers level it up before the half. And the story of the second quarter actually is attritional. It is rough. The Lions offense, again, is just struggling to get any semblance of anything going. So many tackles for loss. Then they have their one good drive. They put it together. It's great. And then they don't capitalize on defense. We keep letting them out of so many long yardage situations. We keep shooting ourselves in the foot, and then just the worst amount of luck in the world gives them a route back into this before halftime. You figure if that play doesn't happen, they definitely don't win this game.
Yeah, definitely. It's just again, we had some good plays, even defensively on the drives where they get a couple to get loads of yards, like starting it off by shutting down the run for them on their first play. And it's Thomas Harper, who, if we could just add second quarter Thomas Harper the entire game, maybe things would have been completely different because he was a beast in that second half. As I said, literally the first play of their first drive in the quarter, in the way to set the 2 yard run where he comes on the safety blitz, but then suddenly they start getting it. So you had the 8 yard pass to Calvin Austin that we referred to. That's what I mentioned earlier with the DJ Reed, where he just gets turned around. It's such an easy completion to Calvin Austin, who's like 5'8", 170 soaking wet, and yet he gets open against the pressure coverage that easy because Reed just goes completely the wrong way. And even luckily we've managed to force the punt just by sheer luck again, by the 0 yard run where Barnes has a good play for once, and then we get the 2 back-to-back incompletions and their punt where even then we get a penalty on them, so it backs them up even more, and we get a nice field position, and yet we can only turn it into a field goal because we get one good play and then everything stalls out again. Tackle for loss behind the sticks. Goff just about manages to get us out of it, and we get the defensive holding that declined as well. As soon as we get a lucky break on their 12, like, oh yeah, things might be different. Might be able to get a touchdown. Tackle for loss, incompletion. We have to kick the field goal. Every time we got those kind of breaks, the lucky breaks, I think that might just help us. We just don't capitalize at all. And again, no more so than that than in the third quarter, but we'll come to that in a bit, I guess, because God fucking damn it. And then just, as you say, just back to back punts. We managed to get one, and then the lucky play, but that was the straw. I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back because we nearly at 10.5, like 10-10, but all the energy, all the momentum is zapped out of us. That must be the only explanation because Jesus, we've talked about the third quarter for a good couple of years with this team now, but that third quarter, not even Madden in its wettest dreams could dream up a quarter that bad for us.
No, and we'll get on to that next pretty much. But just before we do, again, every single drive in that second quarter was negative plays, first down. Even if it's just a yard or two, that's just not where we operate from. And it was, it kind of felt at after this point, it's like, why we're running first down? Why are we not doing something a little different? But it just, we talk, this is something we don't do to the opposition. So a lot of people say, like, in terms of our sack totals this year, our defensive line's actually not as bad as we believe. They're quite good when it comes to the sack totals, but when it comes to their tackles for their loss, they're bottom five in the league. This is what these tackles for loss do for you, right? The defensive line making these negative plays, making life easier for your defense to be able to cope. And you could see we couldn't do that to them for the most part. Like you said, when we're ending their drives, it's more luck than so. We're not putting them in awkward situations to be able to get them off the field. But it's just those tackles for loss they were the killers, really.
Yeah, just constantly just getting ourselves behind the six. And it's, again, it's like we were saying in the first quarter, was it just execution? The players weren't getting to their marks at the right time. They weren't executing right. Or was it the scheme just wasn't right for the game? Like, it could have been an overriding thing, but somehow offensively we got showed up in terms of scheming plays by Arthur Smith, the ultimate nepo baby. His dad didn't love him so much that he paid for him to get an internship, and somehow it turned into a whole offensive coordinator job at the Tennessee Titans. Becomes the Falcons head coach, flames out there, and now he's been brought in by A-Rod because he likes him, and lets A-Rod do what he wants. Somehow we got out schemed, especially on key downs, you say the first downs and then the third downs, by him. And that should not happen. I know, yeah, we have a banged up interior offensive line. We don't have Sam Laporte, and he's a real hybrid piece for this offense. Still got two damn good tackles, two really good receivers at least, and a damn good running back, two damn good running backs, and a good quarterback. We should be able to do more than tackle for loss for two, loss of 2 yards on first down, loss of one on first down, put ourselves behind the sticks. But even if we do, we should be able to overcome that. And we do at points. We get those nice plays, but suddenly then we just lose all the momentum, and
Yeah.
it's infuriating.
It is indeed. And then we move on to the fabled third quarter where the Lions had possession for 51 seconds, I believe it was at the end of that. But obviously, Pittsburgh got the ball to start the half. Lions started this game off. And again, just a familiar figure of issues we had. Straight off the snap, we got them into 3rd and 2. Opportunity to get them off the field while they're at their own 39. Aaron Rodgers ends up completing one to Metcalf. It was the first time all game DK Metcalf got the better of Rock Ya-Sin. It's a 12-yard pass to get them out of 3rd and 2. Then 2 straight incompletions as they started running the ball. So we get them at 3rd and 10 on our 49. Another opportunity to get them off the field. But then Aaron Rodgers finds Adam Thielen, gets a 17-yard gain out of that. Thielen's working on DJ Reed. And again, get themselves out of a 3rd and long situation. Get down to the Detroit 32. Jalen Warren then knocks off a 21-yard run to get into the Detroit 11-yard line. 2-yard run to the 9, and then the real big play from the Lions defense. So Rodgers finds Darnell Washington, the 600-pound tight end, and he fights his way all the way down to the Lions too. It looks for the life like he's going to house this thing, but as he's falling to the ground, they're taking him down about the 2. They said he was down by contact, but you looked at it, and actually Detroit had forced a fumble on him. It was Harper who got the hit on him in the end, but the ball was out way before he hit the ground. It was Harper and Anzalone that it was attributed to, and the fumble comes out. The Lions recover it through Harper, and they get the ball. You know, even after a drive where they kind of let Pittsburgh get away with it, they make a stand at the 2, and you think, maybe is this where the tide is going to turn? And then immediately the Lions shoot themselves in the foot again. And I'm going to stop it after this drive because this really annoyed me. Kingsley Aguakan, who had a great first half, did not show up at center for the start of the second. Instead, Michael Nisa was inserted into the lineup for just one drive. He played 3 snaps. His 3rd snap, Detroit at 3rd and 8 on their own 5-yard line. He snaps it low into the ground. Goff has a trouble getting a hold of it. Takes him time to get himself set, and by the time he's ready to try and throw the ball, Kyle Duggar's come out of the Pittsburgh secondary on the safety blitz and just absolutely wallops him, gives up the safety, and after coming off the end, Ash, of a very big defensive play where we have defended our own red zone and turned the ball over. As to now, I don't know if he was in concussion, but an inexplicable call to change the center, and it bit them in the ass because a bad snap leads to the safety. And immediately, all that high of the defensive stop that you've got is out the window, and Pittsburgh take a 12-10 lead. It's just unforgivable stuff from a team that wants to be going to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, 100%. It has been reported concussion check. I believe it was Nolan Bianchi and Rich Silver who said it on their post-game recap on their podcast, which I do recommend, even though Rich seemingly hates London. I'm not just saying that because they shouted to be out in the same episode. But yeah, just I know we did what we were doing with Frazier, and if it's like a cushion check, you just want to see what Nice looks like because you weren't happy with Gurkhan, even though, as you say, Gurkhan had some really good players on our touchdown drive. Whatever the choice was, that was baffling. Some of the play calls, like I know that we weren't having much success on the ground. And I know that the Steelers are probably expecting us to run the ball in a situation, but to go pass in the shadow of your own end zone is calling for trouble, especially if you've got your backup center in, because it's not Graham who's our first string, it's not Colon who's our second string, and it's not Agura who's simply our third string center. It's Nice who's our fourth, and yet we expect him to hold up in pass protection. Just again, baffling play call, and yeah, just robs all the momentum of we've got a turnover, and we're usually pretty damn good in terms of this season in terms of winning when we get a turnover. That's also now gone out the window. That's another monkey we've got off our back because yeah, we just all that momentum we've. It's like as you said, the second quarter we get the touchdown drive, we get the lead, and we've suddenly got some momentum. It looks like things we might turn it around after a slow start, and it's gone again. It's just gone again, and yeah, we stop with this drive where we've got them having the fumble and then us conceding the safety because that's the only drive we get this in this quarter. The Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that is bottom of the league in terms of time possession, held the ball for 14 minutes and 10 seconds of the third quarter. That's unforgivable.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And as you say, the big drive was the next one that came on the back of that safety. Obviously, we have to kick the ball back to them. A 17 play, 64-yard drive, which spanned 9 minutes and 50 seconds. And again, it started off quick. There was a 19-yard pass to Kenneth Gainwell, which got them to the 50-yard line in no time at all. But then the Lions were able to make a stop. They got them to they got Pittsburgh to 3rd and 9, and these were the two plays that really pissed me off. On 3rd and 9 with a break in pocket, Aaron Rodgers escapes out the pocket. Dukes a defender, makes them miss, and gets 7 yards to bring it down to a 4th and 2 situation. And this is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the most passive offense in the entire NFL. Mike Tomlin was getting bullets last week for some of the punting decisions he made. 4th and 2 at the Detroit 42. He had absolutely no respect for this team whatsoever. He went for it. He never goes for it in these situations. And on 4th and 2, with a chance for us to turn them round and get them off the field, Aaron Rodgers finds Scotty Miller, who makes a catch that, some of the best receivers in the league would be proud of, toe tapping it in on the sideline, the perimeter, working on Avonte Maddox. And they're able to convert. And from then on, it just becomes death by slow cut, a 4-yard run, a 2-yard run. They get them down to 3rd and 4 at our 29. Again, a chance to stop the drive. Another pass to Scotty Miller goes for 9 yards that we're not able to convert. We get them into a 3rd and 2 at the Detroit, at our own 12-yard line. And then we get direct snapped to Connor Hayward, the tight end, fullback extraordinaire. And they do that on a 4th and 1 against us. They go for it again. He gets 9 yards. And they get all the way down into there. They do have a penalty that's called on them for offensive pass interference on Darnell Washington, sends them from 2nd and goal at the 4 to the 14. They are not able to recover from that, and with the first, or the last play of this drive, should I say, they hit the field goal from 23 yards to go 5 points up. And despite everything that went on, despite that defense being out there for 14 minutes and 10 seconds, and despite all the mistakes that were made, and despite all the 4th downs and that, we end the third quarter only 5 points down, or technically the very start of the fourth quarter down 5. But that drive was just missed opportunity after missed opportunity after missed opportunity. And when the most passive coach in the league when it comes to aggressive calls on 4th downs decides to go at you twice in a row because he knows that you're going to be able to do it, you just know something's fundamentally wrong because we should not be giving off that aura that we're there to be had in that situation, and we just did not make any clutch plays when required.
Yeah, and to go one step further, if I blindfolded you and said, "Oh yeah, during this game, one of the
Take me to
teams
dinner
will have
first. Sorry.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ. For God's sake. If I told you before this game, one team would have a 17 play, not a 9.5 minute drive, and it ends in a score, you would not have said it would have been the Steelers that would have that.
Us.
Yeah, you would have been us. It's what I said earlier. They took our identity and they did it to us. That is the kind of drive we've done to teams before, where we just suddenly, we're in a bad situation, right? Okay, we get out of it. to chip you down, keep going, keep going, keep going. We just got it done to us by a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers and his merry band of 30-year-old veterans who have all got Pro Bowls 5 years ago. Like Scotty Miller, the great Bucks wide receiver four when they were in a Super Bowl run with Tom Brady, making plays against us. Kenneth Gainwell, a scrap from off the heap of the Philadelphia Eagles when they won their Super Bowls. We got Tony Starked by Aaron Rodgers. He made a Lions drive out of a box of scraps in a cave, and yet Dan Campbell, with all his fancy toys, could not match up to it.
No, a wild card snap to the tight end on a fourth down.
Mhm.
Mike Tomlin doesn't do this sort of stuff. That's exactly the same. You're right. They took it from our playbook. We did it with Monty last week, didn't we? We wild card snapped him for his touchdown last week, and you know what they were doing on football. It was just unforgivable. Third downs and long, not converted. The one where we didn't take Aaron Rodgers down and Rodgers scrambles for it. I'd have put a wall through if he'd have converted that on his own, but.
Yeah.
Again, despite all the mistakes, and to be honest, it's their own fault the drive didn't go. Darnell Washington rightly called for OPI, nearly killed DJ Reed just running into him. But despite all that, the defense who's been out there for the entire quarter, still 5 point lead in the game. And you're thinking, right, come on now, let's get into gear. And then the straw that really broke the camel's back after the Lions defense was out there for nearly 10 minutes, or it's over 10 minutes with stoppages and that. What happens? Lions go three and out, and they get help. Sorry, they don't. There was a holding penalty. I think it was on us.
Nowasky.
Yeah, Nowaski got pinged for a penalty on the kick or on the on that, which immediately puts us back to our own 14, which is not ideal. Then we get a penalty from Tate Ratledge on a false start after an incompletion on first down, which puts us all the way back to 2nd and 15 on our own 9 yard line. Another incomplete pass to Jameson Williams, and then we have to punt from our own 9 on a 4th and 15. And you've had your defense out there for 10 minutes and you can't even get the first down, which seemed to kill because then the points started to come quick. It was a 4 play, 61-yard drive that took only 2 minutes from the Steelers. 5 yard run from Gainwell, 6 yard pass to Valdez Scantling. Like you said, the Aaron Rodgers effect is there. Another pass to DK Metcalf after that to get to the Detroit 45. And then Jalen Warren, the first of 2 massive touchdown runs on the day, just running outside the tackles, I think it was for the first one, just goes 45 yards, absolutely houses it. The Detroit Lions defense is clearly gassed. Just so many flailing arm tackles, etc. Puts Pittsburgh 12 points to the good. And then it just starts this cycle of touchdowns scored, but we're playing from behind. We come back with a great 10 play, 74-yard drive of our own, but it's not until we're 12 points down when we really started playing. We got we had to use the pass game, 6 yard pass, 8 yard pass, 7 yard pass, so many passes. There was a 14 yarder to Khalif Raymond to get us into the Pittsburgh territory down to their 35. Ended up in at a 3rd and 2 at the Pitt 27, and we're staring down the absolute barrel at this point because we get put into a 4th and 2 situation when Goff tries to find Tesla, and you're thinking this is probably the game on the line. But in the most clutch situations, Jared Goff puts the Lions on his back, hits Khalif Raymond, who is on a crosser, and I don't know what happens in terms of his coverage, but he is just able to run this thing all the way 27 yards into the end zone to give us a sniff in this game. 8.5 minutes left, and we've still, we're back down to only 5 points behind. He stored the lead, and you think, okay, we'll go out and we'll be able to get this here. But then Pittsburgh hit right back. Their last drive was 4 plays, 61 yards. This one was 3 plays, 65 yards. They had a 10-yard run from Kenneth Gainwell. They had a penalty put up against them, which sends them back to 1st and 20. It was a penalty on Jonnu Smith. It was a legal block in the back or above the waist, one of those. But puts them to a 1st and 20. which they're able to get out of. Aaron Rodgers converts it to DK Metcalf. It's a 20-yard completion, again working on Rock Sin to get to the Detroit 45. And then Jalen Warren again just knocks off after a 42-yard touchdown run. He knocks out a 45-yard touchdown run, which if I remember rightly, almost seems absolutely identical in the
Mhm.
way that he ran. And we just gave it up again. And then immediately we're back to 12 points down, and the clock is starting to run out. Now, with the credit of the team again, they go 10 plays, they go 68 yards, they march down the field pretty quickly, and they get themselves in some hairy situations. But there was a pass to Jameson Williams for 21, and then I think again to him for 16 just after that. And then we had a third one to Gibbs that went for 16 yards. And anyhow, we're able to get all the way down into the pit end zone. We get to third and goal at the pit 4, and Goff finds Gibbs for a touchdown. It's a 4-yard pass to immediately be able to get us back within 5. And again, even after everything that goes on in this game, we get down to the last 2 drives. Pitt put together another good drive. We just can't get a defensive stop at this point. The first play of their drive goes 20 yards. It was Jonnu Smith, and they had him on an end around. Just goes 20 yards, goes from the pit 34 down to the Detroit 46. A 13-yard pass to Darnell Washington gets them right down into Detroit territory. We are able to stop the drive, but a whole load of time comes off the clock. And Boswell, who has hit one from 59, and is one of the best kickers in the league. This is a 37-yard field goal he's given to be, to put them 8 up at this point. He doinks it. And it's a case of it doesn't even seem really close either. It always looks like he's missing. And after everything that's happened, we get an opportunity 5 points down to drive and win this game with we had 2 minutes left and we had 2 timeouts as well, although we messed up on the 2 minute timeout. We ended up wasting it. But we're able to drive all the way down to Pittsburgh territory again, and then it just starts getting crazy at the end. The 2 OPI calls that turn this over. There was a touchdown pass for Amon-Ra St. Brown when we're first and goal at the pit 1. And it's the one that's the more contentious of the two. Amon-Ra and Tesla are lined up with one another. Amon-Ra is able to get free on the end zone because Tesla is, I say, pushed into it. I think
Mhm.
it's the lesser of the two evils. He gets redirected into the guy who's covering Amon-Ra St. Brown. And of course, pick plays, you're not allowed to do that. It gets called. So instead of a game-winning touchdown with 25 seconds to go, when we're all going mental at this point, we're penalised 10 yards for pass interference. We then get a false start penalty on Kingsley Aguakan, which forces us back even further to the 16. We get a pass to Gibbs to get us back within the 10-yard line. And then the very last play of the game, the fourth and goal at the pit 9. Goff with a pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown, which is caught at the 1-yard line. It seems like his progress has stopped going forward, but they start to push him to the ground backwards. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, with a brilliantly ingenuitive piece of play, laterals it to Jared Goff. The Pittsburgh defense stopped at this point. Jared Goff does a hero dive into the end zone, which would have been the greatest picture of all time for a touchdown if it would have stood. But Amon-Ra commits offensive pass interference, which seems the more of the two. But the refs explain it very weird. They say it's a touchdown, but it's not a touchdown and the game is over because the game ends on a penalty. It's not allowed to, but it's an offensive penalty. It's explained extremely poorly. He acts like Detroit has scored a touchdown. The entire stadium goes up in arms thinking we've won it, and then he's like, oh, the game's over. Pittsburgh win, and does it round. And so ends one of the most heart-wrenching, emotionally draining periods of my entire time, Ash, here. I know that was a lot to go through in one there, but you kind of have to do the story as a whole. Like, we have to go back to the 3 and out at the start of the fourth quarter, right? That's kind
Yeah.
of where this thing dies. Defense is gassed. You just have a horrible drive where you get penalized and you go off. And from then, Pittsburgh just pick on a tired defense. So every time we score, they just push us back at arm's length and score again. That's ultimately where we lose it. But Christ, it was emotional.
Yeah, especially since I know obviously last week with the Rams game, it was mine. This was your birthday present from the Lions. You know how I felt the past couple of years where the Lions have lost on my birthday. Last year it was the Bills. This year it was the Rams. At least you didn't have any fucking season-ending injuries
Are
for me
we
to say
winless
that.
on birthdays this year?
We actually might be. And the thing is, I might have said we've got some season-ending injuries. We did have some injuries in this, like Fonte Maddox went out. If I swear to God, if Dan comes to the podium in about 2 minutes and says Avante Maddox is going to IR, you're gonna watch like live Harry Carey. We're gonna get that sword from up there, and it's gonna be guts on the floor. Yes, that stretch where we go 3-and-out and they score the easy touchdown because then it's a two-score game, as you say. All they've got to do is we score. They've just got points on the board and they've got scoreboard pressure on us. They've got time pressure on us. Just forces us into a hole, and fair play to us. We do come alive after that and we get the touchdowns, but it's too little, too late. It's too little, too late, and that means we do have to have the heroics of a brilliant play by Amon Ra, but it is OPI, and yes, okay, we're the pick play. I've got to say it's a heads up play by the defender to push Tesla into it to draw the penalty. It's the kind of savvy dark art shit that we should be doing, and yet we don't. Like I know, obviously, there's Darnell watching OPI earlier that they got called on, but it's that little stuff, the kind of veterans, almost savvy that Tomlin and that and these players seemingly have that won the game because it forces into the situations. But yeah, it's a situation of our own creation, giving up the safety, punting on 3-and-out on the next drive, and suddenly, yeah, we're staring at a 12-point deficit with 10 minutes left on the clock, and they know we're having to pass the ball. We know we have to pass the ball. We have to do it quickly, and it just set the game up perfectly for the Steelers, where even though they almost did us and scored too early and scored big touchdowns and didn't really take much time off the clock, they did just enough where, yeah, it forces into one last play to win or lose the game, potentially cost us our season, and they come out on top. And yet again, it's a stat that I had ready for the preview that I didn't get to use. The Lions are still winless against the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 21st century.
Are we?
Somehow we have not been. The last time we beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, it was 1995.
Oh, we got the tie, didn't we,
We
last
got the
time?
tie because I brought that up on Twitter. I was like, oh, because it was about the fourth quarter. And Jeremy tweeted him because like about the game. I was like, oh, well, at least this time we've got a proper kicker to kick a game win if we need to, because people might remember that tie. We had Ryan Santoso kick a field goal to potentially win us the game. Ryan Santoso
Yeah,
is a punter.
yeah.
Says it all.
God, yeah. This just took us through 7 levels of emotional hell, but it was the 3-and-out at the start of the quarter that did it, but then to just give up the way it did, the 2 touchdown runs from Warren, both times they go through the left-hand side of that offensive line, which is an undrafted free agent and a seventh round pick, but it's the same one. They seem to be able to carve open a gap between our right end and the interior of the line, and Warren just hits a gap in the middle and he's gone. It's basically the exact same play twice, and for the second game in a row now, we have been prized open where we feel we're safe. It felt like Pittsburgh took some lessons from what the Rams did to us. They went for the run defense, and once again, it didn't deliver. And again, you're not coming up against the likes of like even the Rams line is relatively it's good, but it ain't among the top 3 or 4 units in the league. And this one is Pittsburgh are not known for clawing people like this open in the run game. But you just watched it twice, and you're like, we've just given ourselves a chance in this game, and then you just give up that. What should have been our strength again, the run defense should have won us this game is ultimately what loses us this game. The fact we cannot stop the run anymore. They put up points quick, and all of a sudden we're back 12 down again, and that's what does for them. And I think that's one of the big talking points of this game is once again our run defense is absolutely manhandled despite the vast resources we've put into it.
Yeah. So some stats to put it in context. Entering this game, the Pittsburgh Steelers had the 28th ranked rushing offense, yet they got 230 rushing yards on us, which is their most since 2016 and the most we've allowed since 2022 with the infamous Christmas Eve game against the Carolina Panthers. We gave up 0.39 EPA per rush, which is 99th percentile. Great. And Jalen Warren himself, 0.46 rush EPA per play, which is 94th percentile, and a 50% success rate. Gamer had a 55.6%, which is around 60 to 70% percentile. That is supposed to be our strength. And again, I hate that we're having to start having these conversations about some of the coaches. It kind of started with this week's press conference from him, but it's
Kelvin.
putting some it's putting some question marks on Shep, because he said last week, oh yeah, if you take away these three big plays from the Rams, we get around 4 point. Oh yeah, I'll do this. You take away the four biggest runs from the Steelers, they're still rushing at like 6.9 yards per carry. And I know, yes, they have the slight excuse of they've been on the field for pretty much the entire quarter and that. You've got players to rotate in. Like, where was Malcolm in this game, for instance? You've got, if your linebackers are getting tired, you've got Malcolm Rodriguez there sitting on the bench, someone who is a pretty damn good linebacker and will likely start for another team next season. 3 snaps. You've got this defensive tackle depth where you've got Roy Lopez, DJ Reader, Liam McNeil, Tyleek Williams. Where's the rotation? Okay, yeah, the secondary don't really rotate, but you had enough players up front to rotate and keep them fresh in these situations as much as you can. And yet we didn't do it. We don't do it. And then we get ourselves in this hole, and secondary can only hold up as so much as it can. We're down both our all-pro starting safeties. We're down one of our starting corners in Terry and Arnold. And I hope the one good thing that comes out this past month or so in terms of the back end is people will finally realize that Terry and Arnold is not a fucking bust, and that we're actually better with him in the team than we are without him in it. But DJ Reed has not been the same since he's come back from his hamstring injury. You've seen, as much as I love Rockison and he had a great start to the game, you can see why he's a backup rather than a starter somewhere. He's a fucking good backup. I hope we re-sign him. Partly for the vindication of what I called it. I've been calling it for years since it's finally happened and it's worked. But like you see that there's just, I don't know, no team is has got perfect depth on their defense or anywhere, but there's question marks to the defense because what started off so well, how is it falling apart this bad that we're not adjusting? Other than we've played a load of zone this week and it worked initially, but then we're giving up the third downs. It's just, there's a load of question marks right now. And I'm not with people saying we need to fire Shep. We need to get him. So remember, we had Aaron Glenn our first year, and we had Don Capers, who was the former Green Bay defensive coordinator. We need to get someone who's a veteran mind in there for Shep to speak to, because I was hoping that would be Casey Rogers. He's done it before with the Jets. Where's his help? Because everywhere else, Sean Dion Hamilton, first year linebackers coach. Deshaun Townsend has been around the block a bit, but is still relatively young as a coach. Jim O'Neill is an old guy, but is supposedly our safeties coach and defensive assistant. Where's he? I don't see anyone coming in and helping Shep the same way that on offense you've got John Morton, who's been around the block. David Shaw's been around the block. Scotty Montgomery's been around the block. Hank Fraley's been around ages. Tyler Roll, okay, he's a relatively young coach, but he's been a offensive coordinator before. Now he's obviously won again with Iowa State. Shard Choice has been around some really good things. There's a lot more veteran minds on the offensive side of the ball, and you can see that defensively. Chef needs help right now, and he's just not getting it because Dan's had to go and become offensive play caller. And there's no one veteran there really other than Casey Rogers to try and help him. And yet Casey's probably trying to deal right now with playing Liam McNeil as a big end because he's trying to get him snaps.
Yeah, and I mean, with the run defense so well, what again did you make of the decision to play so much zone in this game? Because I know you do the scheme stuff more than me, but I looked at this and like people have been asking for a bit more zone with what we've been doing, but I look at this game and I think this is completely the wrong game for us to play zone because we're sitting soft. We're giving them a lot of room to maneuver. And with Aaron Rodgers, he will pick you apart if you give him an opportunity to. A lot of the sacks he takes is because none of his receivers can get open. To me, it just felt like the completely wrong decision to play such a high amount of zone here because then that's what led to a lot of these awful third downs, which is another talking point in this game. I feel like they go hand in hand. I don't get the decision behind doing that, but you might be able to enlighten me with it.
I likes the move because it's been the talking point this week that the pass rush style we have, this kind of slow, methodical, keep your rush lanes, then get to the QB kind of style that we have, aside from that 1 week where we against the Cowboys where we pinned our ears back and actually, pass rushed. It makes sense to play zoning because you play that slow style with man, they're going to get open and that. But it's just we've seen why we don't because our corners, our back end, and that is set up to play more man style concepts. Yeah, it's also the kind of zones we played. So I was saying it, the zone drops, especially on third down, were too far back. Like DJ Reed had perfect press on Calvin Austin for that third down conversion, yet suddenly he's 2 yards away and looking the other way. Why is that? And that's a veteran guy. He's been in a load of different things. He had one of his best seasons in a Seattle free coverage scheme under Robert Saleh. And yet he can't do it. Rocky Sin is definitely a man style corner, but it's supposed to help the back end. It was the wrong call though, I agree, because the entire season, Aaron Rodgers' offensive production has come from get the ball out quick to my playmakers in the short flats and let them get yak. The kind of zones we were playing were don't let us get beat over the top with a deep pass, keep everything in front of us, which is what Aaron wanted. We wanted the press man, right? Get them off their routes early with press, and then they have to make up. And if Aaron hits us with a 45-yard pass to DK Metcalf, that's going to happen. But at least 9 times out of 10, we've stopped their early routes and we can actually get on them. It was the right decision to make at the wrong time. This is what we do next week when we face JJ McCarthy or Max Brosmer, who, for all intents and purposes, are very much rookies. Yes, they've got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, but with the way their offensive line is and their youth, you can do some coverage disguise with the zones and beat them that way. This week, we needed to get to Aaron quick, play a lot more AQ, play press man, and if they beat us deep, well, that's been happening anyway. But at least 9 times out of 10, we get the negative, we get a net neutral play or negative play on them. And it was just far too easy for Aaron. So I'm just looking now, trying to find his time to throw, but I would not be surprised if it was pretty slow.
Yeah,
Like he
yeah.
just seemingly had all day. He just had seemingly all day to spot 2.52 seconds time to throw, which okay, Goff had 2.49, so only slightly faster time to throw, but he could just sit there and pick us apart. He could easily find the easy matchup on the third downs, and suddenly, Darnell Washington's got a third down conversion. Calvin Austin has Scotty Miller. It just, if this is what it's going to be, 1 week we're doing this, 1 week we're doing another thing, because it happened early in the season. We played a load of zone against Patrick Mahomes, and when we played him, and he was very good against zone, and it didn't work. Then we suddenly snapped back to playing a load of man, and it works. I know Shep's trying to feel it his way out, especially with new players in the back end, but surely you can look at the matchup, see what the other team does, and game plan for that, like they did to us. So saying the leaving backside edge rushers and blocks and outside zones so they could crash down, and that's how Jack Sawyer got a load of good plays. The end of rounds to tight ends, because they saw that somehow we don't do well against that. Won't be
Yeah.
surprised if we won't see someone do that to us the next couple of weeks. Looking at you, Ben Johnson, putting the hands of Colston Loveland's hands.
And
Simple stuff.
and the frustrating thing is, we've had all these gripes about the defense in this game, but when you look at it on paper, we give up 15 points before the fourth quarter. Only 15
Yeah,
points. They are out there for the entirety of the third quarter, and they keep the lead down to five. We have a fumble on our own. We force a fumble in the red zone to defend the red zone. In the first half, they're nigh on perfect in terms of keeping out. It's one fluke pass, a 1 in 1,000 fluke pass, which is the only reason they get points there. It's there's so many things that were wrong with them, but at the same point, they were still damn good, and it feels frustrating. You're like, it's there. It's just then, this was what makes it feel like to me it is a coaching issue because they did an amazing job on the circumstance and they just ended up getting gassed in the end, which is why you get those two big drives, and that's what they'll be remembered for. People won't remember that actually, outside of all the nitty-gritty stuff they couldn't do right, it was still a pretty heroic performance from them.
Yeah, well, the Pittsburgh only had a 39.2% success rate on offense,
Hmm.
which is 26 percentile. We had a better one. We were 42.5, and yet we feel like this offensive performance for the most part was shit for us. Early down EPA per play, 0, 45th percentile. In the red zone, minus 0.71 EPA, which is 11th percentile. Scramble EPA, so I know Aaron Rodgers is 42 years old, not exactly mobile, but 10th percentile, minus 0.02. The offense did some good things well. It's just the key downs, we just couldn't execute. 78th percentile success rate for Pittsburgh on late downs. So that's your third down and fourth downs, 55.6%. The negative play rate for them, 9.5%, which is 74th percentile. Explosive play rate, 13.5%, 83rd percentile. Just it was a tale of sort of last season and the season before that, later in the season, where I remember it was the fucking Vikings game last season. I think it was. We was watching it with Matt, and every third and long, Sam Darnold would just throw it to fucking Johnny Munt, and they'd get one more yard than they needed to and to convert it. It was that all over again, except for instead of Johnny Munt and Sam Darnold, somehow it was even more of a downgrade with Aaron Rodgers thrown to Scotty Miller, and it was the exact same results. It's, I don't know if it's, we have a one scheme and it's perfect for the players we have week one, and then we're unable to adjust from there. So when injuries happen, because injuries are going to happen by the time it gets to week 15, 16, and injuries are mounted up and we don't have most of the, some of those players, partly because we signed injury-owned players, which I know is your big gripe, but people get injured. We're unable to adjust or adjust to what the other team does. We just have that one fixed mindset and we don't move on from it. And it means by now teams have got a lot of tape on us and they can work out what we're bad at and they just attack it like we should attack theirs. But instead we have our game plan on offense as well. We do that and it doesn't matter if it fucking doesn't work. We're going to keep trying to do it because we're just trying to make Vars from fucking Far Cry 3 happy, because it's like Alice in Wonderland, definition of insanity shit.
Yeah, and as far as the offensive, the talking point here is once again the slow start.
Yeah.
Fourth time in 5 games we've not scored in the first quarter. We didn't score our first touchdown until about 2 minutes to go. And yes, I know we got turned over on downs in the end zone and in the field goal, but at this point, what do we blame this on? Like, we talk about the third quarter being terrible for us, but we're not talking about the first quarter woes where we are just not starting games well at all on offense. And I don't know what to attribute that to now. Like people saying, is it the offensive line that's having its troubles? And while it does, I thought the young rookies were fantastic in pass protection in this game. We couldn't run it, but we could pass it when we wanted to. But it's becoming a common theme for us now. We just can't score early in the games, and we let Pittsburgh hang with us. And eventually, when we did score, a fluke, when they're always one score behind, they're always in the game. And I think that really gave them the belief going into the half at 10-all that they could win this one. I think they don't. They don't, but it's the offensive slow starts again, and this is a massive cause for concern now that we cannot score points early and put our foot on a game.
Yeah, and it's not just overall in terms of the game, it's on drives as well. So I was saying with the Steelers, they had a net zero EPA per play on early downs. We were even worse. We were minus 0.04.
Jesus.
We couldn't even start drives well. And then it extends to everything else. So, I know we said they had a bad success rate. Ours was 42.5, 43rd percentile, 12.3 negative play rate, 40th percentile. Just so much stuff that, we would just get ourselves behind the sticks and we couldn't overcome it to the point where, they had a 55.6% late down success rate, which is not exactly great, but at the same time, 78th percentile. We were 42nd percentile with 42.1%. we put ourselves behind the sticks, and aside from a couple of great plays that dug us out of those holes by Ferguson, by Khalif, especially on that 4th and 2 where he got the touchdown, we'd get ourselves behind these sticks, and we just couldn't dig ourselves out of it, even with all the weapons that we've got with Amon-Ra, JMO, Gibbs, Monty, Khalif to an extent, Tesla with his great touchdown, like his ability to turn one in every 2 catches into a great touchdown. Yet we against the Steelers defense, which is not the same one from a couple of years ago where they had a load of good players, had Minka Fitzpatrick patrolling the back end, and they had obviously TJ Watt and all these good players. They're having Jen Ramsey start fucking safety for God's sake, and yet we could not execute for the most part until late into the game. It was a bit too little, too late. We just could not execute at all.
No, the 2 drives we scored on in that first half, 21-yard pass, 14-yard pass. Taking a shot downfield and putting them off the back early. Every drive that we didn't, runs or sacks. One of the others. I think you say there is something there, but and then unfortunately they play well when they're behind. And this leads me to my next point. This is an overall talking point of this game. Is there any other offensive points you want to mention before I talk about the main one that's really bugging me right now?
Why did it take us late into the 4th quarter to remember that we're best on in-breaking routes? Like I know we've said all bits. Part of the reason we did so bad during the middle of the game on offense is because suddenly we just went to go balls, hitches, and stops and that. There was no in-breaking routes until suddenly we remembered on a 4th and 2. Oh yeah, we can do this, and we target Cleef on it, and it's a fucking touchdown. For the middle part of the game, we did not target the middle of the field at all, pretty much. And we wonder why our offense fell apart, because we didn't do the one thing that Goff's elite at. He is over the past 3 seasons, he's been the best QB throwing to in-breaking routes and play action. And did we do that much? No.
In fact, I've got a point that you will pick up before I even start this. I will say this point now. Bearing in mind our run game really struggled today, Dan Skipper played 1 snap.
Yeah.
Where the fuck was our jumbo package? Where was our jumbo package? The one thing that has worked in establishing our run game, because it puts an extra big man blocker in there to help, that has worked against the Cowboys, that worked for that one drive against the Packers where we eviscerated them on the ground and Monty got a touchdown. The one thing that can help our run game thrive, and Dan Skipper sees 1 snap. Why did we see no jumbo in this game when we're struggling to run the ball?
Exactly, especially as we said earlier, against a team that doesn't have their starting edge rushers. Stick Dan Skipper on Jack Sawyer, whoever the fuck was starting the other side. It wasn't Nate Herbig. It might have been Nate Herbig, except for I think he was out, so it's probably
Herbig was out.
So it wasn't Herbig, so it was probably fucking Highsmith. Stick Dan Skipper on one of them and fucking run behind him. It's just simple stuff like that. And I know Dan's just said in his press conference, there was things schematically that he give our guys a chance. Well, there's one we fucking found easily. Play more jumbo. I know you're going up against a team that, okay, we've led it over the past couple of weeks, supposedly, jumbo package, and they're the ones that lead in the season, so they practice well against it. Don't fucking care. It works. Why turn away from something that works? It's been the story of this season. We've all, I think me, you, and Matt have all said it at various points. We find something that works, like the jumbo package. We use it for 1 week, and then we're like, oh, that was fun. Right, back to just being boring again. And just to add on as well, because I know I've just said that, Danny's at the podium and Amon-Ra's a non-participant and they don't know how bad the knee injury is. So if we're adding fucking Amon-Ra's season-ending injury to my misery right now, I'm going to get the apple sours out and down it. And I've got work tomorrow, so that's going to be fun.
Good Lord. Right, so yeah, offensively, I don't get it. I don't get where the jumbo went, where that's gone, because that works, and that really hurt me in this, especially when you want a run game. Why not try it? Why is Dan Skipper seeing 1 snap on that field altogether? You're putting Michael Neese on there, you're putting Frazier, you're putting every other goddamn lineman you've got on in there, and you're not using the 6th man. It just beggars belief. So, both sides of the ball, it's just frustrating, because I think overall in this game, Ash, I don't feel like the Steelers are a better team than us. I still legitimately feel in my heart of hearts that we are a much better team than them. But obviously, we can't claim that now we've lost to them. But it just feels like it was on a plate and we weren't given it. And this leads to my main point. 12 months ago, I had a big issue with this team and how it did against Washington, and how
Mhm.
this team reacts once again when it's favorited in a situation and is expected to win. We had issues with this last year. This team likes being an underdog. It likes proving people wrong. It likes proving critics wrong, etc. That's how it's built. That's fine. You're now at a point where you've got to act and feel like a winner. And when you're in a winner's situation, you've got to show that you can act like one. We come into this game, our season is on the line. Win or you're pretty much out. You are at home against a team which is a more than touchdown underdog against you. And we all know in our heart of hearts, we are a better team than the Pittsburgh Steelers. We had to act like the Super Bowl winning team we know they can be. And yet we saw a game where we were offered chance after chance after chance after chance after chance after chance. It got to the point we had so many chances, we stopped deserving chances to win this game. And every time the question was asked of them, they failed the test. Do we have a genuine psychological problem now with this team where they are struggling or are unable to adapt to the mentality they need to take this next step? Because for me now, this is not just I'm thinking about it. I believe this to be the case now.
I have to think so as well. Like, I know this is the first year we've really had a setback of kinds. Like, okay, yeah, there was the Washington game last year, but you can half excuse it by the fact that we were playing such a threadbare defense and the offense felt like had to force things to try and keep up. And it was just a cataclysm of errors. But there is enough signs this season where, yeah, I don't want to say it's like the Cold War era where we're just going 9-7, 9-7, 9-7, 9-7, unable to get the hump because we've shown we can, but it feels like, yeah, we have to be the underdog where no one expects us and we kind of almost shock people, and that's how we do well. Because you look at the past couple of seasons, the season where we made it to the NFC Championship game and came up short. Yeah, we won the division, but no one was really expecting us to go that far and do that well and get to where we did. And then last season, no one expects us to only lose 2 games and have that threadbare defense yet still come out and get the first seed. And then, yeah, we fell apart. And it might be confirmed next season where suddenly we're playing a third, fourth place schedule and things get a bit easier and people suddenly look at the Bears and the Packers as only 2 teams to beat in this division again. And the Vikings, well, they'll do better. Their defense is good. And if they just get some stability at QB, we saw what they did with Sam Darnold, we'll suddenly become the favorites to be the worst in the division again. And maybe we'll rise up to it. But yeah, right now it just feels like we're unable to be that team that can be at the top and stay there. I know this is us calling back to last year, where I think it was you that said it compared Mike Tomlin to Arsene Wenger. Does this mean that Dan Campbell might be Mikel Arteta?
Oh God.
Because, yeah, they get to the top and yet seemingly bottle it. I don't want us to turn into that. I want us to be like I don't want to put the Aston Villa card here. So let's go for the Leicester 10 years ago. The team that, okay, yeah, they shocked people, but that season where they won the Premier League and they came to the top, they played really damn well. They had Jamie Vardo breaking this record for most games with consecutive games with a goal. They had a really damn good defense with Robert Huth and Wes Morgan at the back and Christian Fuchs and Kasper Schmeichel and that. They built their team perfectly, admittedly, just for that one season. I want the same success, but you've got to start with that one season. And I know, and this is me saying it, and I've been one of the biggest advocates for let's keep the window open. I like what we're doing now. We need to build just for that one win, because suddenly if Goff gets the Super Bowl ring under his belt, same with Amara, we get some of these players that stick around that we've got signed long term, they start getting Super Bowl rings. You build that culture. You've got to start somewhere, and I hope it's next season, because if we go for another season like this where we're like the Steelers have been since Tomlin's been there, we're like the Ravens, we like the Bills to some extent, the Broncos right now, they're seemingly coming back. These teams that, yeah, always going to be in the mix to make the playoffs, but they never get over the hump. I don't want to
No,
be them.
I
I
don't
want to
either.
be I want to be like the Chiefs, where they have that sustained run where this is the first year in like 10 years they haven't made the playoffs or won the division, but they consistently get to the AFC Championship game. They're always threatening the Super Bowl. I want us to get there, but at the same time, we need to do what they did 10 years ago. Just make it to that AFC Championship game, win it, get to the Super Bowl. And I know they had the franchise altering move for drafting Patrick Mahomes. We've got our version of that. We've got a good offense. We've got a defense that when it plays up to its level and its players actually play well, we can hold most teams to 20 points or less. There is enough there for us to get over the hump and win the big game. It's just we don't have that mentality right now, and we need to build that. So, yeah, this is me saying kind of F them pick / money this year. Just get that ring, get the culture in, go from there, because otherwise we'll look back in 10, 15 years' time and be like, oh, yeah, it's nice. We got consistency to the playoffs. We had some great runs, like Gibbs broke the NFL record for most scrimmage touchdowns before the age of 24. Amon-Ra had the most catches for any player in the first 5 years of their career. J-Mo might break some records. I know Gibbs also is currently the only player in history to have more than 100 scrimmage yards per game and 6 yards per touch. It's all well and good having that, but if you don't have anything to show for the end of it, what does it mean?
That's the point. Do we want to give 12 players franchise-defining contracts to say, oh, look, we drafted well? Or do we want to win a Super Bowl and maybe have 8 guys who get franchise-defining contracts? And I'm with you. There is a mentality problem now. I don't mean in terms of Campbell's grit culture's fine, but it's not enough anymore. It's got to be supported by a dominant. You can't always be an underdog. The NFL just doesn't allow it. There's always another underdog round the corner. There's always someone with an easier schedule round the corner. There's always injuries round the corner. We can't always wait for ourselves to be backed into a corner before we bail bless football. At some point, you've got to be like the Chiefs. You've got to win, even when you're injured and you've not got the best roster in the NFL. You just have this ingrained mentality to win when it matters. And we need to adapt to that now. So for me, this game it's put a lot of concerns in my head now that needs to change. And I'm with you. And this is going to be talked about by us a lot during the off season. But I think for me, if it's a scale of urgency as to how much 2026 matters now, Ash, I think I put it in Discord. I think this is now going to be the defining year of their tenure. I
Yeah.
think if you have another year where you don't make the playoffs or you go down again, I think the wheels could potentially fall off. You have got to do something next year now. And you now are probably going to have to be more aggressive this year because we got D line that needs fixing, we got O line that needs fixing, we got secondary that needs fixing, we got a load of free agents we're going to leave. We can't solve it with the draft this year, but at the same point, we can't keep regressing away from the Super Bowl by taking a slow build.
Exactly. Like, and it's tough because we are coming up to that year where we have to pay the historic draft class that really pushed us over the edge with Laporta, Campbell, Gibbs, and Branch. But is there enough money to sign all 4 of them? We have to start prioritizing them. And God, I know Branch is arguably the best of the 4, but with his having his Achilles injury, do we risk doing that this season or do we wait to see next season? Knowing our history, we probably wait till halfway through next season, but he won't be back by then. Laporta, so important to what our offense is. Look what's happened to us ever since we lost him before the Eagles game. But can we afford to pay him top tight end money when, yeah, he's better than what Hawkinson was, and that's why part of the reason we didn't do it for him is because he didn't block and he wasn't good after the catch. But can we afford to pay him and give him the top tight end money? Can we afford to pay Campbell top linebacker money when that's 20-21 million a year? Can we afford to pay Gibbs when running back is seemingly one of those positions that you pay and suddenly they get a bit older and it starts falling off and they're not worth the money anymore? He's already in the stratosphere for running back pay because where we picked him. We've backed ourselves into a corner making decisions because we've done it before. As much as I love Kirby, did he deserve the extension he got after 1.5 good seasons of play? He had a great end to his rookie season and then a good season last season where he led league interceptions. But did he deserve the top tier money he's got? Is he a Cole Hamilton? No. Is it the same as some of the other ones where just because they're the next ones to get paid. We've paid them top tier money. Do they deserve it? Not like aside from Saul, Goff, maybe even Goff's a bit iffy, but Saul and Amon Ra and maybe Hutch, do they deserve the top tier money we gave them? But don't know. But because we've got that reputation of you play well for us, we pay you, it does back us into a corner where suddenly we are having to do your least favorite thing and pay a Marcus Davenport veteran minimum every year just to try and get some good stuff out of him. We might see that from Pascal, where he gets veteran minimum just because he knows the scheme we play and he's good as a rotational piece. We've backed Samson's corner where we have to do that, where we have to rely on the draft to get players and we have to get these bargain basement guys because we're carrying so many big contracts. And luckily, as you've put in the Discord today, we're at that point now where we can restructure some money, but then that ties us even further. We're probably going to have to restructure Goff to open up some money from free agency. We have to restructure some of the other guys. And it begins, I'm not saying we're going to turn into the New Orleans Saints, but look what happened to the Saints. Had a historic draft class in 2018 with Kamara and Lattimore and all this, and AQM, who was in, and Anzalone, both in that draft class. Look at where they are now because what they did with restructures and that. We've got to play it smartly. But at the same time, it's about finding that balance. And right now, the balance just isn't there.
No, there's a lot of big questions that need to be asked, and I think they've got to get more aggressive this year. Just to finish it off, we'll do our stock up and stock down before we wrap this up. It feels like we scored 25 points. I struggled to answer myself to this question, but stock up this, was there anyone who in defeat raised their stock for you in this one?
Arguably JMO. Like, he had a good couple of catches, some of the big ones. I know he didn't get a touchdown, which I wanted for my bet, but he was there and he did some, like, he was okay at the run blocking. It's just, he was one of the few bright sparks on offense for me. And he finally broke that 1,000-yard thing again. We've still got a couple of games, and with us maybe having to throw a lot more in the next 2 games, if Goff can get it away against that really good Viking splits on Christmas Day, he might get a few more yards. He's finally getting. He's one of the few guys we've paid, and he's actually kind of lived up to it afterwards. So definitely JMO. And I'm not just saying that because my girlfriend's watching. She loves him, and I don't want her to kill me.
Oh no, you can't kill him. I would have no one to take the mick out of. Please don't do that. It'd make my life more miserable. In terms of ones I would give an up to, you know what? I'll do it. I'm going to give an up to Kingsley Aguakan. I thought
Fair.
the situation he was put into, having to come into this game against Keanu Benton, who is nasty, against the Steelers defense that loves to blitz and loves to put pressure on young guys. I thought he was great. I watched every single snap he played in the first half. He had one semi-miss of a run block, and even then I don't think it was on him, but like his ability, the dual blocks where he's helping both guards out, he's picking up late blitzers, he's pointing out these guys. This is what he's played center before. He's got the cerebral part of it knocked down. I thought in pass protection he was really good. So there were a couple of wins, couple of losses. He's a rookie. But I thought overall he showed me enough where I am very happy taking him as a backup, as the backup next year at centre. If you want to save a bit of money, keep a Guacan on the team. Fuck off Colin and guys like this and whoever's going to be in there. But I thought Kingsley in the circumstances played very well. And again, go watch the Tesla touchdown and watch how he plays there. It just shows you how good he can be. So I'm going to give him a plus. I mean, is there anyone else I'd play? I think we should give a shout out to Raymond as well.
Yeah,
Big plays
definitely.
from him in a year where it's been desperately disappointing in terms of knocks and lack of usage and stuff like that. But I feel like we should give Raymond a shout out as well. Is there anyone else you want to shout out before we shout down?
Thomas Harper for just that second
Yeah.
quarter where he was an absolute beast. Like, okay, yeah, the rest of the game got on, he got tired. You could see the golfing class between him and Branch and Kirby, but there's enough there, as I said a couple of weeks ago. There is enough there for me to be more than happy for us to bring him back at the end of this season and have him be our safety 4. Actually, let's say both. Vontae Maddox as well. I know we got injured, but again, in the Branch role, he wasn't the worst player in our defense. So both the sort of backup safeties just for holding down the back end as best they could. We didn't give up a big pass really in their vicinity, and they did some stuff in run defense, which is more than you can say for most of the other defenders.
think if you told me that one of my starting safeties was going to miss one game and Maddox would come in, I would not be worried. I
Yeah.
think that is a compliment towards him. On the flip side, is there anyone who kind of you're now out on as a result of this game who it really did? I'm gonna get my shot in right away. Marcus
Let's
Davenport left with another injury to his shoulder.
yeah.
And he did absolutely bugger all in this game when he was part of it anyhow. Like, the run defense stuff wasn't there. He was invisible as a pass rusher. He's been a complete and utter letdown for this franchise. And if that injury keeps him out, that is the last snap he should ever play in Detroit. I don't care if they gave us an extra 10 million in cap next year to have him on this roster. I would say no. So hopefully that's done. Is there anyone who is your stock down this week?
DJ Reed, you can go fuck off and get your bread elsewhere. All you want. Fair play, you
Reader.
came reader, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because people haven't seen that tweet from him last night. Some fans were rightly just saying, "Oh yeah, like you've been playing kind of bad recently," and he took umbrage to that. And they're like, "What?" Someone else replied, "Like, Waterman, Payson nominated the fair play, but you'll be fair free agent next year." And he's basically like, "Well, that's good. I'll get my price elsewhere then. Go do that." Like, fair, you came in, you've been a veteran presence, but we already had the succession planning for you. As we said, Tyreek Williams will probably be the starting one tech next season, unless we change our scheme, in which case he could get moved again. But he's going to be a starter next season in his place. You did some things for us, but at the same time, you were brought in as a veteran presence and you didn't do much in the pass rush game. And you were supposed to be helping the younger guys come through, like Broderick Martin. You supposed to took him under his wing, your wing, and you're supposed to do all these things. And oh yeah, Broderick Martin was so bad that even the Steelers cut him this week.
Yeah. Um, and then I think the other stock down I would give just to end this, and this is not because of what the player's done, this is what the team's done to him. I just feel like they phased Monty out of Detroit now.
Yeah.
It just feels like his tenure's over, and that to me is it's more a down for the team, but he just clearly doesn't look at it anymore, does he? I think he realizes the team's given up on him. Dan can say all he wants about trying to fit him in the scheme, but he just doesn't look the same as he was even 3 or 4 months ago now. They phased him out the rotation and it's showing.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, I don't know Peter's talking point from last week's again, he was the most efficient runner. We lost this week, yet he was the best runner. Like, Gibbs is great. I'd love Gibbs to pieces. He is one of the best running backs in the league, but his one issue is he does take too many negative plays. Monty really doesn't, unless it's something like really of an edge rusher on blocks and he gets tackled like that. Monty can easily take a what would be a 2 yard loss and turn it into 1 yard game. Or Gibbs, he takes what to be a 2 yard loss into a 5 yard loss. Yeah, because the team just wants to give Gibbs all these carries. Yeah, they face that Monty. He's played something like 50 snaps over the past 5 games, which is the lowest he's ever had when he's been healthy. And
Hmm.
yet we paid him all this money. I feel bad for him, and hopefully he does. You know what? I hate saying this, but at the same time, because I want the best for him, let him go sign with Kansas City and be their starting running back next season.
Hmm.
He'd
Yeah.
do great there. They have the kind of power scheme that we do with Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. He's much better than them, and I know right now, fuck knows who's going to be his QB. But if he signs another 2 year deal with them, and there's not there, he gets this season to bed into his scheme, and then next season to have Mahomes back and all this, he could go win a Super Bowl with them, and I'd hate it, but at the same time, I'd be happy for him because he deserves it for what he's had to put up with Chicago, and then this season, he deserves
Yeah.
a bit of happiness.
Yeah, indeed. Right. I think we're going to have to wrap that one up there. I apologize for not being able to get through more of the comments this evening. Matt's running the stream for us, and he's not well at the moment. So I want to make sure he's able to get to bed on time. But I will take your questions in. I've got the stuff there. So I'll write down the ones you've put in the chat, and we'll address them when we're back for the next game. Is there anything else you want to say before we get out of here for this one, Ash?
Go, I don't know. Honestly, don't know.
That's kind of it at the minute, isn't it? The Detroit Lions playoff hopes are not over after all this is said and done. The last remaining scenario, Green Bay has to lose out and we have to win out. And who knows? Green Bay quarterback situation is iffy, but yeah, I think at this moment we're at a point of we've not had to deal with this for years now, have we? We've been used to the upward ascendancy, and like you say, this is a feeling we've not had in a while, so we've got to be careful, but trying. I'll never tell people how to act. Try not to overreact. We have still got a good team. We need to see what they're going to do. But yeah, we will be back. In terms of shows coming up, we will be back before Christmas Day. Obviously, we've got a Christmas Day game now, which is on Thursday. So we're going to have to do a preview for the Minnesota Vikings maybe on Wednesday. We'll see where we're at and what we're doing. But we'll try and get one in there. Hopefully that's a bit healthier, maybe to do a stream. Then we'll see on Christmas Day. But yeah, we've got a lot coming up. You've got college show, Vikings preview, Vikings game. God, the season's over in a week and a half, and that feels absolutely criminal to say. That's where we're at this moment in time. But yeah, any questions that are in the chat this evening, we'll get them into a doc and we'll prep them and we'll talk about them on the Minnesota Vikings preview for you. Join us for that as and when we do get there. But yeah, thank you to everyone. It's been a tough day. It's been a tough season, but we'll be back. You know we will. We've been through a lot harder than this before, and we've come out the other end, and we've made it. So yeah, I appreciate you, Ash. Thanks ever so much. We shall see you again soon. We have been Roar of the Lions UK. Enjoy your evening. We'll see you soon. One Pride.
One pride.
Recording stopped.